I'm in the empire business.
Everybody love everybody!
You all know exactly who I am.
All right, Johnny, Coach, what's happening? Johnny, how are you, my man?
You know, just living life long, strong, and to the left.
More than I needed to know. Coach, what's happening with you?
Oh, man, it's good to see you guys. It's like the boys are back together, you know what I mean? So really looking forward to the show, looking forward to the content, and it's great to see you guys. Good to see you on a surfboard behind a boat not too long after knee surgery, so props to you getting it done, man.
You do look a little bit shorter, though, you know. Right.
I'm actually taller. They pumped that in there. They actually removed my bone, added some metal there. I'll never make it through a metal detector again. But guys, before we go on a tangent, I'm hosting this section of the video. We're doing our Des Nations talk, and this will be the first part where we go through our top 3 teams that we expect for the race in a couple weeks. And we won't go off on too many tangents because I'm hosting this one. But if you want parts 2, 3, 4, or whatever, we're going to split them up between myself and Hopper. Definitely have host. The second one will be on Hopper's channel, and then he'll direct you to the third and so forth. So check that out.
If I'm nice.
And then,
if I'm nice.
Oh, gosh. Oh, boy. We'll see how this goes, huh, Hopper? Okay, well, with that, Hopper, who's your number 3 team heading into the Des Nations?
Oh, gosh. There's actually, I would have to say I'm pretty close.
Today,
dude,
Hopper.
because I know. Top.
Want me to go to Coach and come back?
No. I think Australia. I think the only reason because Mitch Evans, his last crash there in Turkey, I don't know how healthy he's going to be, but he's got the Lawrence brothers to kind of back him up. And if Hunter doesn't just lose it and fall over, I think that is a really good 250 rider to get their overall points incredibly low. And so it's really Mitch. I think Jet is going to be a contender for potentially, maybe not the overall, but I think he's going to maybe win a moto, which will be good. And Mitch Evans is kind of the guy there that needs to just sort of try to get inside the top 5. And I think that's what it's going to take to get third this year.
Coach, who do you have as the third place team?
Oh, this is a tough one. I've got it a tie between either the Netherlands or France because there's
Coach, you got to get off the fence here.
Well, but what I need some help on, and before we went on the show, I wasn't able to get a definitive. Is Ferrandis racing or is he not racing?
Ferrandis is racing. I texted his agent,
Okay.
Button.
Yeah.
He got back to me and said he could not ride more than 15 minutes around the time of Paula. He rode the last few days. He is in for Des Nations doing long motos, no problem.
So cortisone shots is what you're saying.
Yeah, AKA.
I did not say that.
Yep.
I said he can do 30 minutes. That's it, Hopper.
Yep. So believe it or not, I'm going to go
Man, if
Netherlands
I could
for
only do
third.
30 minutes.
No, if that's the case, I'm going Netherlands in third. You've got Koldenhoff, who last time he was here, he went 1-1. I don't think he's going to crack under the pressure. You've got Vanden. I apologize if I screw these names up. Vanderen. He went 36 DNF last time he was here, so I think he's got something to prove. And I just, if you've got, I'll stick with my original one because I don't know what kind of condition Dylan's going to be in there. Marv, I mean, obviously he's a great rider, but we saw even in this past Outdoor National, it wasn't like he set the world ablaze. My buddy Justin over at Moto Aftermath, he thinks that, and if one of you guys can help me out, how do you pronounce the last name? Ronero, Renaux, Renault. Thank you. Justin thinks he's capable of getting an actual getting a moto win. So I just think that, Renero is going to be kind of carrying those 3. But I'm going to go with Netherlands with Koldenhoff and Vanderen. I think they've got something to prove.
I like it. That's a good pick. And I hope you guys don't disown me for this one or banish me to Russia because I'm going with the United States. It pains me. It pains me to pick them third. But look at Eli's track record at the Des Nations. It's not good. Johnny, don't shake your head. You're the one that's been down on Eli forever.
Dude, and that's all it took. That's all it took. I just had to be like, Tomac's retiring, and he just wins everything.
Out of the three of us, there was one of us that picked him for the outdoor title, and that was me. But the Des Nations has never been his jam. He's been celebrating. It's a big weight off his chest. Sexton,
do we really think Eli celebrates? Like, Eli at a party, do you really think he's going to be the life of the party? I mean, no disrespect to him, but...
Well, when I say celebrates, he probably went hunting or something.
Yeah,
but he
so
wasn't riding. He wasn't
ready.
hammering motos. Okay, or he's hammering stakes like he did that one time before Unadilla where he said he got arm pumped because he was hammering stake like fence posts in. He's doing whatever he does when he's not riding, but he's never putting it on the line. He just had probably one of the best seasons in the history of the sport. I just have a hard time. I think if Hurlings was there, you'd find a different Eli where he could find some motivation. Hurling's not being there. That's the guy he really wants to kick his ass. So I'm going to go ahead and say that's why. And then Sexton looked spent physically, mentally. I don't know that he can regroup and be ready to go in just a couple weeks. That's just enough time to kind of I don't think they can keep that level that they had outdoor nationals. If they could carry that intensity and that level, absolutely they would win. And then Justin Cooper didn't finish real strong. I just don't compare him with a lot of our 250 guys. Our 250 guys are not very good. There's that Guillermo Ferris from where was it? Spain comes over here. His best finish ever in EMX is 7th. Yet he's a top 10 guy over here all of a sudden. It just shows that our guys aren't on the same level, and I just think that hurts us. So I have the USA
effect. I mean, I agree, but I also disagree very, very wholeheartedly because Tomac, he's got his mojo going, dude. He's got the secret sauce going. He's taking the peanut butter and jelly, and he's making the sandwiches. Dude, that dude, this being last motocross, I have no idea what kind of analogy that is, but he's going to turn all these guys into nothing bars. You know, this is I'm getting out here at PG jokes here with the analogies, and Tomac, he's got it going. He's not going to race motocross again next year. He's going to go total supercross. So he's just going to let it go, and he's going to have fun. And when do riders do the best is when they're having fun. He's going to enjoy the process. And then you got Sexton next to him that is like he's angry that he lost the championship, so I think he's got something to prove, and he wants to get the overall and show everybody that he is the best guy on a 450, whether it's motocross or supercross, and it's here in America, dude. So I think we've got the best team we've had in a long time, since I'm talking like 2011 kind of best.
Listen, I would love to be wrong, and I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. I just don't think our guys care about this race. It doesn't pay. Their contracts don't matter. It doesn't do much for them. They're from a generation that doesn't hold country pride like we hold it, and I just don't see it. So, all right, Johnny, who do you have as your second place team?
Dude, this is tough. Tough. Because Belgium.
Do you want me to go to coach again?
No. This was between.
Should I get some coffee while you think about it?
I finished coffee in our pre-show here because we were talking for 45 minutes before we even started filming. Gosh, you guys sure know how to talk. Just saying.
I know. There was only like 2 tangents from Hopper in 40 minutes. Okay.
Belgium, I feel, has got a really good team. Because again, the Netherlands, they're losing. They're missing their big guy. Hurling's here, but I kind of think France. I kind of think France. You know, because if what you say is true with Dylan, I think that they can definitely with Max Renault. And then you got Marvin Muscan, who's the king of bridesmaids. So he's going to go in there. And he's not one of those guys to like really rough feathers with anybody. So he's going to finish strong. So I kind of want to think.
Did you say Marvin won't ruffle feathers?
Well, no.
Eli Tomac begs to differ when he took him out at New Jersey.
Okay, but the majority of Marvin's whole career, he gets out of the way for Dungey. You know, he kind of does what he's told for a team effort. I think he's a good team player.
Okay,
and in the
you're
250
You're correct.
class, and I'm honestly really happy. Like I found this out when I was doing some research that I believe the MXGP, they've got a rule of you can't be like older than 23 to race the MX2 class, but they make an exception for the Motocross of Nations so that you can have guys like potentially Jason Anderson and these guys hop down on little bikes to race, which is super cool. But the digression will probably continue. I want to say France. I wanted to have a French toast joke in there, but I couldn't think of one.
Coach, who do you got?
Well, I'm going with the Australians. I think.
How did we know that?
Well, it's one of those situations where it'll be when we do a post race discussion about this. Jet is either going to be the guy that shows that he's polished on that 450 and he's Sexton style, or is he just not big enough and strong enough to hold the bike? We all three of us know it's going to go one extreme or the other. I don't think there'll be a happy medium. It's going to be either everybody gives him props that he did as expected, or he's jumping the boat too soon. There will not be a middle ground for him, unfortunately. It's interesting when you go and you look at this year. Let me just jump to a couple stats that I thought were pretty interesting. If you look at Australia this year, when you look at Hunter, he went 2-2, and unfortunately Jet, his motor let go, went 35-1. But both these guys did very well on the track. Obviously, they gelled with the track. Yes, it's a 250 class, and I know there's some new guys coming in. But point being is these guys, the first time they were here, and correct me if I'm wrong, how long were they here in the States before they were here last time?
I don't recall.
And that's the part that makes it so difficult. When we look at the Australian team, and you've got Hunter and Jet. They've been racing the track. They've been racing this series. Jet's obviously got a ton of momentum. I think Hunter is going to show that he is a legitimate deal outdoors, mainly because he's not going to be racing against the same 250 guys that we've been seeing in the outdoor series. You bring that European contingency back in, it's a little bit more familiar. I shouldn't say familiar with Hunter because he's been here for a while and has done a great job, but I think you're going to see a breakout race for Hunter, obviously with his brother in tow, or, those two are hard to beat. I do agree with what JH had said about Mitchell Evans. That's the big question mark. That's the hard one. We don't know. And yes, they throw out the poorest score and they add the two best scores. We all understand that, but I still have Australia number 2. I think they've got a lot to prove in a good way and a lot of momentum. And, when we look at who were top 3 last year, so you've got Italy, Netherlands, and Great Britain. So I think it's time for Australia to kind of break that mold and get into that top 3.
I think they very well could, Hopper. But I just don't see Mitchell Evans. I mean, he's good. And you said you were talking about how good Hunter was. Hunter wasn't that good. Hunter got smoked by Joe Schmoda at this race in the first moto. And then Hunter, he went down and caught Hunter, and Hunter was only second in the second moto. And I don't think he was that good. And I mean, he'll be going against Joe again. So
yeah.
Hopper?
Oh, I just was going to add, Cooksey, so I appreciate you coming back to me here, that it's interesting that Hunter is the older brother, but yet he's the guy that's stuck on the 250 and they're letting Jet up there. I'm just like, unfortunately, that just kind of seems like a little bit of an ego kick, that it is the right decision to have Jet on the big bike, but big brother has always been in his shadow as soon as they were out into the world. After birth, it seems like he was in little brother's shadow, which is a bummer.
Well, and I think a lot of that anger came out on Joe Schmoda at that last round that you're talking about.
Yeah,
I think it was over breaking, but yeah, there's probably a little bit. We disagreed hardcore on that. I've got text messages that
see, I personally wish that they kept Jet on the 250. I mean, look at his summer. I mean, it's pretty hard to argue with what he can do on that bike, and he's gelled with that bike. I mean, he's got that. I mean, they're like this, right? Now all of a sudden they're going to throw him on a completely different bike. I personally think it would have been better off to have Jet on the 250, but that's my 2 cents worth. I just think that right now he's just on such a momentum with that 250. I don't know why you would break that mold. That's my opinion.
No, it's
all right, guys. Hopper, do you want to add something?
No, it would have been cool to see Tom Viall versus Jed on a 250. I'm just saying, I'd pay to see that race. But he wants to race here in America. So just as you were talking about, as far as these guys not thinking that this is that important of a race, you've got arguably the best 250 guy that's just saying, nope, I'm not going to do it, because France would have been my number one if you would have had Tom Viall on there. And personally, Dylan, I almost feel like Roman Febvre would have been a better choice than Dylan, and I think they would have not easily taken the number one spot, but they would have given my number one, segue, Cooksey. Are we talking about number one?
Not yet. You didn't hear my number two.
Oh.
Hold on one second real quick. JH, why isn't Febvre racing it? I didn't hear the specifics as to why. Was he not selected or chosen?
He wasn't selected because he was still hurt or coming back, kind of the Hurlings deal, I believe.
But isn't it interesting, though, now we've got Dylan who's hurt. Like Chris said, he is riding and stuff, but we know he's not going to be near 100%.
Yeah. What was interesting is that his team, the Team France, was gone public. They said who was going to be on the team before Budds Creek, before Barcia ran into him. So he already said he was going to race for France before the whole incident that happened. So, he already said yes to something before he got hurt.
Well, he paid attention to Barcia on the inside and just maybe checked up.
Nah, dude, I disagree with you on that one too. That was that Barcia was well deserved taking away the 10 points, is what it was. It just sounded worse because it was a DQ. We can argue about that later. What is your number two, Cooksey?
Thanks, Hopper. The Netherlands. In the Netherlands, Glenn Koldenhoff just owns Redbud. He was so good here last time. He straight up smoked Hurlings. Nobody expected that. He almost came out of nowhere. He finished this season strong. He started like a turd and got going really good towards the end and was one of the top three guys, and a top three GP guy who clearly cares about this race is going to be hard to beat. And then you got Calvin Valandrin, who was here, in 18, and he took the rock to the eye. Remember, he couldn't ride because it could have caused blindness. He's also finished the season really good. The question mark for that team, in my opinion, is Kai de Wolf. Kai de Wolf is a kid who cut his teeth racing with Jet Lawrence over there in the smaller classes, but he's had a few moments. They need one good moto out of him, and that will get them into second. So, Hopper, who is your number one team? Hopper?
It's a blue background. It's United States. United States. They didn't race it past couple of years, because the whole world got canceled. I still kind of think that this is a simulation kind of a thing. And then in 2021, nobody wanted to do it. So 19, I think we finished sixth. Did we finish sixth in 19? It was a bad showing from the team that has the most Motocross of Nations wins with 7, at least since 2002. I think it's time that we take the crown back, and I think it would have been a for sure if we would have had Jason Anderson on the 250, but I understand why, at least publicly, PR-wise, is why he's not racing it. I think it's really got more to do with Kawasaki not letting him race it, because the sport is incredibly dangerous, and you don't want all your eggs in one basket. They want to have these riders more of like a mutual fund kind of a deal. They want to spread them out. And speaking of peanut butter, Tomac, man, he's just spread so thin. He's just winning everything on that Yamaha, dude. He's got his mojo going. His dick is 10 feet long, man. He's going to win it for Team USA. And then he's going to retire. Then he's going to ride off in the sunset with his 2 kids, at least moto sunset. And then we're going to see him kick ass in Supercross and then potentially go World Supercross. And, I personally think Tomac is one of those guys who's the greatest of all time this decade for sure, right? The only thing he's really missing on his deal is like a perfect season, as far as winning.
Did you just say greatest of all time for this decade?
Yeah, I can't think of what would the
I don't know,
acronym be of the greatest of all decade. That
greatest of the decade.
GOAT. The last 10 years. He's definitely the best rider of the last 10 years. You can't argue with that.
All-time 10 years, Johnny.
All-time 10. Okay. Semantics here. The people that are watching this, they understand me. I said greatest of all time of the last decade. Cooksey, listen to the words that are coming out of my mouth.
50% of the time, it works every time, Johnny.
That's let's go to Vegas. I think we can play blackjack. We got like a 50-50. But no, and Sexton, you didn't even let me finish to Sexton.
Sorry.
He's that young kid that I've said it. I don't want to be. He's maturing. However, he still wants to prove that is such a weird dynamic on that team right now, because those guys are looking at each other and they're both smiling, kind of saying F you at the same time, because one guy's like, ha, I got it done, you didn't, my check cleared, yours didn't, nah. And so one guy in Tomac, he's just feeling it. He's just having fun. And then the other guy has got like revenge racing going, where, I think they're going to go face to face is it going to be the last moto? I believe it's the last moto they're going to go face to face on. And I think Tomac has got an advantage there as well, because he's got like an hour extra to recuperate, because he's first moto and last moto. But no, not just Tomac, just Team USA. Cooper, as long as he just doesn't drop the effing ball and get inside the top 10, I think they're gonna win it.
Coach, what do you got?
Yeah, I have to go with America, but for not the same reasons that JH just was talking about. I think this little bit of time off is exactly what all three of them need. Chris, you said it earlier. It's been a grind. Sexton looked pretty beat up at the end of the season, mentally and physically. We know Tomac, every time they get a small break, he comes back with double barrels. I think it's going to be a very, very difficult task to even break up those three guys. Cooper desperately needs the time off. We know he's been essentially, and he's doing what we always say can't be done, essentially racing yourself into shape while you're injured. And we saw some dismal results, these last 3-4 rounds, but in all fairness, we weren't seeing 100% of Coop. So you give these 2-3 weeks off. I think Coop, he's got the experience that's going to help us. I think he's going to surprise a lot of guys. I think he's going to come back to the Coop. I'm not going to say he's going to be what we know he's truly capable of, but I think we'll see 90-95% of Coop because of the time off. I do agree with JH. I think there's a dick swinging contest going on between Sexton and Tomac. I do believe that Sexton will get the upper hand on Tomac, only because if Sexton doesn't grenade himself, let's face it, he wasn't forced into any of those errors in that last round. He took responsibility for all of them. Every race that Sexton has kept it up on two wheels, we saw it even in the last 2 to 3 races. He not only bridged the gap, caught and passed Tomac, and then left him by 25, 30 seconds. So I think it's not going to be a Tomac show. I think it'll be a Sexton show. Of course, there's always a caveat. If Sexton keeps it on two wheels, he'll prevail as probably the most dominant outdoor rider that we'll see here. It's a shame that we don't see Hurlings, because just like Jace at Gypsy Tales is trying to put together a race against Tomac and Hurling, which will be phenomenal if he gets it pulled off. But think about it. If we had Hurling racing against Tomac and Sexton with the summer that we just had, because it is without a doubt that Sexton and Tomac have pushed each other to an all-time high. There's no two ways about it. And I think because of that and the fact that it's on our home turf, and if you look at the results from those guys racing this year, they both raced extremely well. The end of the season, they both were pushing. I mean, would they have 30, 40 seconds on Anderson at some motos? Sexton keeps it up on two wheels. He will show why he's the next heir apparent. And I do agree with Johnny. I mean, Tomac isn't going to take it laying down, but as JH said, he's pretty much could drop the mic and walk away, and nobody could say, oh, but he won everything but designations. No one's going to say that. If he does, it'll be like, hey, just added it to the mantle. Sexton is going to show that the end result at the end of the season was not because Tomac was better, but because he made more mistakes. And I say to my clients all the time, the person that wins on race day is not always the fastest. It's the one that minimizes mistakes. Sexton cleans it up. He will show that he's the next big deal.
I appreciate both your guys' optimism. I don't share that same optimism.
They're the best guys on the 450. Best guys on the 450.
I just don't think our guys care enough about this event. I truly don't. I don't think that they look at this event and go, oh, we have to win this. And they get together and train together like RJ and Ward and Lachine and these guys. They don't have that.
It's legitimate because the behavior illustrates your opinion. So I do agree with you on that regards, but go ahead. Didn't mean to interrupt you.
And no, and I hope I'm wrong.
Me too.
I would love to be wrong because it kills me every time to see him playing the French national anthem in our country. It's complete bullshit. But to me, anyway, as an American, it hurts. It feels like, they just treaded on us, and I don't appreciate it. With that said, unfortunately, I think France is going to do it again. Dylan Ferrandis is too good. He clearly cares about this event. It's weird how the French care about this. They seem to care about this a lot more. I mean, the fact that Marvin came back early, raced a national to get ready for this shows how serious he's taking this on the 250. He's not just backing into it. Oh, I'll just show up for fun. No, they're coming to win. And Renault has been so good towards the end of the year. I think they have a more complete team than anyone out there. With that said, the Des Nations, you have to have 3 guys that have to have a good day on the same day. So, anything could go, but if I'm power ranking them, I got France number 1.
Dylan has yet to be inside the top 10 here, even here kind of in America, though, on the...
No, he's been in the top 10.
I mean, yeah, he has. Okay, but I'm just...
And he was champ last year. He's still a really good rider.
No, absolutely.
And whenever there's a break, it almost resets things a little bit.
Yeah.
Hey, Chris, let me ask you a question. Why did Ferrandis and DV separate?
I do not know.
See, that's to me that, the fact that we thought that he was not going to race because of the herniated disc, as JH announced, the idea that he's now coming back, whether it's cortisone shot or whatever, and the fact that he doesn't have DV in his corner, I think played a significant role at the last Destinations because of DV's experience. I've not been around DV when he's around Ferrandis, but I think he has a very good grounding effect, whether it's, coming from the same country, experience, just a good mesh. I haven't been able to get from anybody as to why DV and Ferrandis separated. And it seemed like they've done nothing but had success together, 250s and then 450s outdoors last year. That's to me one of the chinks in the armor in regards to France not getting it. Believe it or not, is because I don't think because Ferrandis is going to be that anchor. We know he's capable of it, but he's a lame duck coming in.
Are you sure they separated though, Coach?
Well, that's what I've heard. That's why.
Because DV said they weren't separated. He just didn't go to the race.
Okay. Is it because DV and Marvin, are they still working together?
That I don't know, because Marvin really wasn't working with anyone in the summer because he was off.
But remember DV and...
Who's going to help Tom Vial out?
And I don't want to be starting rumors. Maybe it's DV's not working with Marv. DV is not, I may be incorrect with that, but then again, why would DV not be working with Marv? If it's one or the other, it just seems odd because both of them, again, French background, experience, success together. I don't want to start a rumor here. I'm just always curious when you have something that's working and then there's a breakup. I'm always curious as to what the catalyst of that is. Well, you have Sebastian Kinley, a triathlete from Germany. He had 3 stellar years, 1 Ironman Hawaii, and then parts with his coach. And I'm like, why? Not because I want to be nosy or anything like that. I'm always intrigued as to what would be the catalyst when your things seem to be gelling. Why would there be a parting of ways? Go ahead, Chris. Sorry.
You got to think about DV. DV's got fuck you money. He can do whatever he wants, whenever he wants. If it's not going to his liking, he just steps away. That's just what he does.
How? Sorry, maybe it's because I'm interjecting here. Maybe I have a different definition of FU money, but just can you elaborate? Where is it coming from?
I was about to, and you cut me off, Hopper.
Just
Sorry, I'm just kidding. I'm just fucking with you now. No, when I say fuck you money, I mean, he doesn't work. He does what he invested the money he won, and he's comfortable, and he lives comfortable on what he has, and he doesn't have to have a job. Yes, he likes to have a job, but DV's very
frugal.
He's weird to be around in the sense that I don't know. I think his personality wears on everybody that he's close to, from what it seems like to me, because he can have that effect where he just kind of he goes to negative town a little bit. And maybe he did that a little too much, and maybe they just needed a little break. Maybe they're separated. I don't know. But, I mean, sometimes you just need a different voice. If a guy's been around you so long, it doesn't mean they don't know anything. But, Hopper, what do you think?
About David Villeman?
Yeah.
Or the whole deal?
And separating.
Them separating? I mean, change is always good, right?
Is it always good?
Well, usually in life, change is difficult. But
if I go to a Suzuki from a Honda. Is that good?
If we okay, I thought
I'm kidding.
Okay,
I'm kidding.
I'm
I'm
gonna
kidding.
switch
I'm
this
kidding.
around on you.
I'm
Tomac
sorry.
leaves all powerful Kawasaki, and
Yes.
I said he had a death sentence on the blue bike, and the blue bike has been rejuvenating for him. So yeah, in certain cases, maybe I shouldn't have been as black and white as far as it's always good, because change isn't always the best. The grass is not always greener. You leave your wife for somebody, that's not always the best scenario here. So in this scenario, I've seen how DV has been on the reality of speed. Granted, that was like 20 years ago, but he seemed kind of like a lack of a better term, kind of like a dickhead, so I could see maybe he wanted, if I'm just putting it out there, maybe he wanted to switch things up a bit, but also if he's not working with David Villemin, Dylan's not performing as well as he has been. If this is true, was this going on in Supercross too? Because Dylan didn't have the best Supercross series, and I was very hyped on Dylan because I thought Dylan was going to have the mojo over from motocross into Supercross, and that did not happen. Tomac ended up being the supreme deal on that. So I believe they were still working together in Supercross, so maybe that had some sort of an adverse effect that has maybe trickled over here. But again, I'm just speculating for sure, because I'm good at speculating.
And again, I don't know that he separated from DV. I apologize. It was just something that I was thinking about earlier when we were doing our research, or actually this week doing some research, and I didn't have time to reach out to some others to find out. So I thought maybe you guys would know. And one of the things that I
guess
find
I do have to, sorry, I guess I kind of called DV a dickhead, and that's maybe not the best thing to go about doing stuff. He said stuff about me on the internet. Maybe I'm just a little biased about things. So DV, I doubt you would ever watch this.
I'll tell you this. He would probably say he is a dickhead sometimes. He doesn't care.
I think I'm a dickhead,
like
so.
if there's anyone who would call you a dickhead to your face, it would be DV, and he would laugh and say, "Yeah, you're a dickhead on the internet," and no big deal. And he's very cool like that. But I think you have to have thick skin to be around DV.
Well, DV would still call you a dickhead and go have a beer with you. That's the
exactly.
difference between
Because he's not saying he can take it
DV,
too.
I don't
He's not
drink,
too
but
sensitive.
let's go have a.
Well, something to keep in mind, and it's not relevant to DV. This is a 10,000 foot, just to try to get the listeners to have a different perspective. When you think about somebody, let's say it's a trainer or a coach or whatever it may be, and think about this perfect scenario. If I've got a group of 5 or 6 riders, and one of those 5 wins, it's easy for me to say, look, JH, you didn't win it, but Chris did. So you must not have done enough, because obviously I, the trainer, was good enough to get Chris to win the championship. Now, you get 4 or 5 of those guys that get tired of paying a couple $100,000 a year plus bonuses. They get tired of being run into the ground on a calorically restricted diet, high volume, high intensity. And then when you get tired of paying me a couple $100,000 a year, when you leave because I've exhausted you. Now think about what a perfect scenario this is. The media grabs a hold of it. The media grabs a hold of it. And the media, it could be a trainer, it could be a coach, it could be whatever.
That's what I'm talking about. I feel like we're
these
talking about
sounds a lot like
these friends or whatever's out there. But here's the key. Look at the perfect narrative. The media grabs a hold of it and says, well, look, because he left riding coach XYZ or trainer XYZ, that's why he's not winning. The reason why the rider left is because they're tired of paying tons of money. They've been run into the ground. They now have to try to race next year with a body that's been used up, burned, and chewed up to the crisp. Now, the perspective of the media is, the reason why he's not winning is because he's parted ways with somebody, when the possibility could have been that they parted ways because they're tired of giving money and being exhausted, and they're looking to try to rebuild their career. The media takes it, spins it completely out of context and says, nope, it's because you've left riding coach, man, friend, trainer. What a perfect narrative. And as long as you've got another funnel of 3 or 4 behind it, it makes you, the trainer, man, friend, riding coach, look like the hero because you've got another championship. Well, wait a second. What about the 5 other guys that have left you because they're tired of paying boatloads of money, a chewed up physique that now they can't really race to their potential because they're already exhausted physically and mentally? What a perfect narrative.
Sounds like a factory.
Yeah, and I'm not even isolating one person. I'm asking everybody to think about it from a 10,000 foot view. riding coach, man, friend,
No,
trainer.
I definitely think you're profiling the industry. That's what I feel
Well,
like you're doing.
all I'm saying is,
But I mean,
please,
you're completely accurate.
no, if anybody's been listening and hasn't tapped out, please listen to what I'm saying. Remember what my comment was. When things seem to be working well and then there's a disjoint, I always wonder why. That's all I'm asking. When you look at the perfect narrative and you look at the story, and I'm not, please do not put
Roxon, Webb, Malcolm, Stewart, it's everybody.
Anderson, all of them. And it's one of those situations when, again, this is where I have a problem with the media spin, is when people get kind of, I want to be very careful on the way I describe this, but it just, everybody kind of jumps on board with one idea, one concept, but they're looking at it from the wrong perspective. If you look at the percentage of success versus the amount of people that didn't win, trainer, man coach, riding coach, the percentages are far outweighed on the percentage that didn't win to the percentage that did. Now you go, well, Rob, all racing is that way. Well, no shit, Sherlock. I get that. What I'm saying is, if there's a marriage, if there's a relationship, if there's something that's working, and then all of a sudden there's just a complete explosion of that, I just am asking the listeners to ask themselves, what would be behind the scenes or what would be just underneath the surface that would cause such a great relationship to go the wrong direction? It's not take the face off the shoulder, stick to the concept. That's all I'm trying to get people to think about.
Fair enough. All right, guys. And that is our top 3 for the destinations, the countries. And we will be doing another video. Hopper, what's part 2?
I think we're going to be talking about the best guy on the worst team and then the slowest guy on the fastest team. Plus other stuff.
Ouch.
I don't know.
That'll be tough.
Okay. Head over to Hopper's channel and we'll get you dialed in on some. It sounds like we're going to be really pissing people off on that one, Hopper.
Hey, it's bench racing at its finest. It's MX Unfiltered.